Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fuck Wellness.
Hello,
Hi, it's us.
it's us back again another week.
Shocker. Yeah, I know you're so surprised because, we're so inconsistent with our Wednesday episodes. So, anyway, I'm Mallory.
I'm Laura and I'm McKenna. Well,
And
I
and McKenna has an agenda for today, I've
have an
heard.
agenda. I have a callback first and foremost
Ooh.
to one of our previous episodes that we talked about, or I don't know if we talked about it on stories or on our podcast, but basically using what language to use to talk to someone who might be helping with your finances to make sure that your investments are aligned with what you want. And
Yes.
especially as women, I think this is particularly difficult. When I brought this to my particular person, I was kind of like a bumbling mess. Like I just didn't know how to phrase it. I didn't know how to ask. And so I have some clarity there. And you can use this kind of sentence. And hopefully, if the person that you're working with is good at their job, they will take you seriously. And if they don't take you seriously, I would strongly reconsider not working with them because that's bullshit.
Wait, should we give a little bit more background?
Sure.
I wish we'll put it in the description of when Ken talks more thoroughly about this issue that she had, but basically you have a fund somewhere
Hmm.
and there are investments into things that you weren't did you not know where they were because you didn't have access to that, or you just hadn't looked at the things?
So I do have access to it. I just feel like when I look at it, it's like I'm reading another language.
Yeah, it's gobbledygook.
Exactly. I couldn't tell you what is what if you threatened me. Like I truly couldn't. So I can see it, I can access it. I just don't personally manage it. Someone else manages it for me.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to make sure that my investments weren't, or my money wasn't being invested in things that I just fundamentally disagree with.
Primarily Zionist companies.
Yeah, but I think there's like a lot of other.
But that's what
That's what spurred the like, oh, I hadn't even thought that I had to, which is so ignorant, but I hadn't even thought that I had to check on to make sure that this money is, being used in a way that I feel comfortable with and that I'm owning the investments that I'm making.
Mhm.
Which I mean, to be clear, sorry, Mal, but to be clear, like it did come with kind of a warning and it was like, absolutely, we will do this, but there is going to be a drawback financially.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Your person said that this meeting or a previous meeting?
Previous, but also this one. And that was a warning that was given like, hey, if you have people who are reaching out to their own, like people that they work with, that is probably something that they're going to hear is like, we can do this, but here are the financial implications of doing this. And it's much easier to start when you have a lower net worth than when you have a much higher net worth, because it's obviously you're going to be losing more money if you have higher numbers. So little me is doing great in this transition. Sorry,
Okay.
Mal, go ahead.
No. I was just because I feel like the last time we talked about this was on the pod like months ago, is you had like the initial conversation with your money person.
Yep.
And that conversation was like, I want to have some input in how my money is invested. And so it sounds like you've had meetings since then. Yeah.
I just had a follow-up one this week.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Because I was like, did I miss like 7 meetings?
No.
Okay.
No.
But like this meeting was specifically with the intention of looking into this thing, right?
It was for something else, but we have a follow-up meeting on the books to go over specifically. He's like, we're gonna get on a Zoom and basically go through the majority of everything, and you can either say yay or nay.
I don't know if you know this answer already, or can you ask him when you see him next, but besides the potential of losing funds by going from one pot to another, just because the second pot might not give you a bunch of return, is there money that's lost by just moving funds around? Like, does that process
I think
cost
sometimes, because
money?
I think you have to sell and buy. Yeah.
Yeah, there's potential, but I mean, it doesn't inherently mean you lose money.
Right. So it's not like a CD or something where like just moving the money,
No.
you're gonna lose. Okay, got it. Okay.
No.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, you're right, Laura. Like the potential return of investment is most likely significantly lower. Maybe not even significantly, but most likely. Unfortunately. Tricky business.
So McKenna's gonna give you a script.
Yeah, anyways, so this kind of concise sentence that you can use approaching someone who works in finance, we should see if it's Ryan approved. And if he ever in his life has heard a phrase like this.
Yeah.
But
I'm very
it
curious.
would be, you can kind of plug in whatever you want at the beginning, but I'm going to give an example of saying, hey, like, can we review this? You can say, hi, so-and-so, can we schedule what?
Sorry, just interrupting. You would only say this to someone if someone was managing your funds, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Hi, so-and-so, can we schedule a time to ensure that the investments I'm making are aligned with my social values, ethics, and morals? Ta-da.
Nice.
So I'm going to send that to Ryan after this because he is managing my money. So
there you go. Send him a text.
Send him an official email with like,
yeah. Dear
extremely
Mr.
formal
Powers.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, also, I'm going to make a bold statement and I want to circle back with a fact check on this. And maybe Ryan knows more about this, but another piece of information that I got during this, that there's a lot of people who call themselves financial advisors, but they haven't passed a specific exam. So in order to be like a certified, I don't know if it's financial planner or financial advisor, there's only about 100,000 of those in the United States.
Well, Ryan definitely has a perspective. I just called him over.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Hey.
Can you be closer to the mic though?
Yes.
Okay. For like part one is McKenna is talking about like she had a meeting with her financial advisor about making sure that her investments were aligned with her social and ethical values. First of all, did any of your clients ever ask you about that, or is that a role that you did when you were managing money, or is that something that you think about?
Yeah, we had on our platform, by platform I just mean like the list of approved funds that we would put client funds in. There were a group of them that were ESG focused funds. So ESG is environmental, social, and governance. And it's an area of investing that just looks to invest in companies that are, maybe they don't invest in fossil fuels, or we had this one fund that was called the Catholic Social Value Fund that was for clients.
I actually don't want to invest in that.
No, but we had clients that were Catholic and had like, specific religious things that they didn't want to put their money in. Or like
if they're doing it, we can do it.
We had clients that didn't want to invest in companies that did animal testing or had anything to do with firearms. So yeah, I mean, it definitely happens. I don't invest that way just because it's too much effort. I just buy a mutual or a index fund that tracks the S&P 500 and call it a day.
So when McKenna talked to the financial advisor, he said that if she chose to like change her investments, did you specifically say anti-Zionist or just social ethical, that she would likely lose money? Do you think that is?
Yes, I would agree because the reality is most of the companies that are responsible for the stock market gains, like obviously there's 500 companies in the S&P 500, but you're talking about the largest ones that are responsible for a pretty good chunk of any gain in a given year. So like Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Netflix, Google, like the big ones. And you will always be able to find some sort of fault with the largest companies that are responsible for
making
market
the majority
gains.
of money,
So if you start picking companies out because this one is involved here and this one puts money here, you're going to be left with still a lot of companies, but not the ones that are really moving the market up. So yeah, I mean, in general, ESG strategies aren't going to perform as well as just a broad-based investment strategy that tracks the US market as a whole.
Okay, Ken, do you want to ask your second question about financial advisors?
Oh yeah. So there okay, wait, let me figure out how to rephrase this. So apparently there's a specific or small amount of people who have passed a certain exam or are certified. Is that true?
Yeah, so there's two certifications you'll see commonly, CFP, which is Certified Financial Planner. So in the advising space, like I was in, CFP was probably the most common one. There's another one, CFA, which I attempted level 1 of the CFA charter. It's
Honestly, he's still
that's-
living through
it
the
literally-
trauma
that's
of
like-
taking that test.
It's really hard. So chartered, that's chartered financial analyst. And so that you will see more in like investment management, equity, equity investing, like people that analyze stocks for a living, which is not the the personal advising space.
Mhm.
Like where I was working, we were investing client assets across a range of asset classes. We weren't analyzing individual stocks. So analyzing stocks, analyzing companies, CFA. If you are somebody's financial advisor, CFA is still very useful. And we had people that had both, but CFP is going to be the more common one in the advising space. And yeah, I mean, they're good. Like if somebody has a CFP or CFA, they're smart. CFA especially. If you have the CFA, you know what that it's not an easy one to get. You can't fake it. You have to be smart.
Well, he was saying that one of them, I can't remember, it has only about 100,000 certified people in the
CFA.
United States. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan studied for that test for a very long time, and it was a terrible experience.
I came close, but didn't quite pass. Turns out if you don't have a passion for something that is that hard, you will fail.
Yeah, not great.
Wow. Good on you for trying though.
Yeah.
Proud of you for giving it your best
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah. Wasn't too long after that I started to
Pivot.
figure out how to wrap things up and move along.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Move along.
Yeah, you signed up to take it a second time and just didn't show.
I just never went.
Oh no.
Mel, you should have tried it out.
Yeah.
Maybe you're unexpectedly a financial savant.
Ryan, do you think I'm unexpectedly a financial savant?
Those are words.
Okay, any final finance questions before Ryan goes and makes me dinner?
When I get some funds, want to manage them for me?
Sure.
Wow, the enthusiasm
enthusiastic yes.
overwhelming
Free.
there. Be free. Yeah, notice when she said when she gets funds. So.
Oh, that's another thing. I guess I'll just say that for all the listeners. If you are looking for a financial advisor, look at how they make their money from managing your money. And it should be just a fee based on how much assets you have with them. If it's anything in the realm of commission based, walk away. Don't even give them the time of day.
Wow, this is great advice.
But a flat fee means that their incentives are not aligned with selling you products. It's merely just a function of how much money you have with them.
Wow, hot tip.
Yep.
Hot tip.
Okay, pizza
All right.
time.
Adios.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
You're not gonna get canceled. Oh my god.
That
Do you
was
hear
good
Ryan?
advice.
That was so helpful.
I would have no idea.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, he's a smart cookie.
He's a cookie.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. I feel like that's a lot to think about.
Yeah. There's no way to be perfect in this world. Just a reminder.
Mm-mm.
can just do
No.
our best.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
Yep.
Okay. What's next on your agenda?
Well, I wanted to talk about the podcast. I don't think you listened to it, Mal, but Laura
Mm-mm.
sent us about Rage. I think that we should talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. I have not listened to it, but I will engage in whatever way I can.
I was gonna invite Ken to talk about her personal rage before we talk about the pod.
Oof. Yeah, we can talk about it a little bit. I have just, Mal, this kind of started when you were here, and not
I was like,
because
did I
No,
trigger
I'm just-
something?
no, I'm just calling it back to the time. Remember when I had my therapy session, and then I had this part of myself that had a lot of rage, and this part of myself just feels like it's been tapping on my shoulder. It's like one inch behind me at all times, and it's been really difficult to kind of invite this part into my life because feeling the rage feels so uncomfortable. But then last night I had a lot of discoveries about my rage. I think we should talk about it first before I talk about the discoveries.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you want to give a summary?
Yeah, I can try. I honestly, I feel like I need to re-listen to the whole episode. But basically, wait, is that Lisa on the pod? No.
No. The podcast was with a person called Dr. Becky. I forget her last name right now, but I really like Dr. Becky. I've known her for a while. I follow her on Instagram, and she has really helpful advice most of the time in the parenting space.
Mm-hmm.
And so she came on the podcast We Can Do Hard Things. That's Glennon Doyle's podcast. We'll link it in the show notes. And she was there to talk specifically about, quote, mom rage. And it's
episode 274, What is Our Rage Telling Us, with Dr. Becky Kennedy.
I just downloaded it.
Yeah. She has so many good titles, but mostly I know her from the TED Talks that she has done. But I don't even know why I've listened to her TED Talks, because again, mostly she talks about parenting, and typically you're the one interested in parenting info, not really me, but I love listening to her. I've listened to a few other episodes because they've had her on a few times on We Can Do Hard Things. But I feel like at the beginning they tried to talk more about like mom rage, like what it feels like to just be so pushed beyond a limit of humanity when you are a mother, and like doing kind of things that you might be afraid to tell people because like CPS is a thing, and you don't want anything bad to happen. So but then I think that they just kind of talked about like rage in general and how it can just be this like, anger is such an undealt with emotion in like bringing gender into the conversation. Like for women, it's commonly been like a suppressed emotion, because if you're an angry woman, I don't know, it's just kind of like what's that called?
stereotype.
Yeah, like a farce. I don't know. But it's I don't know. It's such a good episode. And I feel like it, even just with you both being dog moms, there were moments when I was like, it's the same thing. Like, y'all are mothers. Like, you felt this. I've felt tidbits of it with Douglas. Like, it's I don't know. It's going back to the thing like that you were just saying of it's impossible to be perfect in this world. It's so impossible to be a perfect motherer of anything because of rage.
Yeah, that book that McKenna recommended, the 7 Deadly Sins book, has a whole chapter on rate or on anger. And I feel like we talked about this briefly on another podcast, but I've been thinking a lot about how like there's stereotypical anger, like red face, yelling, like really being riled up. That's not how I show my anger, but that doesn't mean I don't feel anger. And I
Yeah.
think there's like obviously some shame in like not showing anger, but I've just been really reflecting on how I do feel a lot of anger, but I don't show it always in the like ways that I think most people would expect it to be shown.
Yeah. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but anger and rage feel like to me my next hill to climb. I feel like on the podcast there's a lot of topics in the past where I bump up against something. I'm like, oh, I know I'm gonna have to work through some beliefs here. Like when we did money podcasts or when we did, I don't know, maybe more personal, intimate details. There are things that are easier for me to talk about and things that are harder for me to talk about. And anger and rage is one that I'm like, oh boy, like we are about to climb here and it's important and it's necessary, but it feels a little bit scary.
Sounds like we should have a month of anger.
Oh no.
Bring back themes.
30 days of anger.
Yeah.
I feel like just personally right now, like these last 2 weeks, I've been feeling like kind of intense, not even like, I guess anger is is not a good way to put it, but I think just like really, really heavy frustration that my body is like telling me the messages that it's telling me. And it's interesting because I think that like, you know, there are a lot of things that build up one on top of the other while I'm at work. And I can sense that those things are also building up on top of other people that I work with, my coworkers. But there is a lot of outwardly expressed rage that my male coworkers sometimes have that I like witness. But and it's funny because I look at them do that and I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm sure your body hurts. You're frustrated with customers being silly right now. Like, you have a lot of work to do and not a lot of space to do it. Like, I get that expression of rage, but the way that personally I am taking it is like internalize, internalize, internalize. You're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Get home. I have like a little bit of movement and safe time with McKenna, and I just like it washes over me, and I'm just like break down basically. So it's so funny how like that expression is so different. Like, um, yeah.
I also feel like there's a lot of like cross emotions. Like I was just trying to think about the last time I was really angry, but I also think anger for me crosses a lot with like disappointment or like sadness. Like I think sometimes it's hard to like isolate a single emotion and be like I only feel anger right now. A lot of times I feel anger and shame or anger and like resentment. So
Mhm.
oftentimes I don't feel like the anger like exists in its own like little bubble for me. Usually it has to do with another emotion that I'm feeling like at the same time.
Mal, I feel like I used to be like this. Like for all of my life, I used to be like this, where things would happen in my personal life where I'm like, I know anger is part of 5 other things that are braiding together to make me feel just upset right now. But lately, literally, I feel like just this year, I have been feeling pretty pure 100% anger
I love
based off of
that.
how people treat McKenna or
Mhm.
someone else that I love. Because then it's pure. It's like it's
Mm.
not complicated what I'm feeling about how this person treated McKenna because I'm not being treated in a way or like I don't have a connection to this person, da da da. It's super black and white. I'm
Yeah.
just really angry.
Yeah.
And it's been very interesting to feel that so purely this year because I feel like I was the same way as you for so long.
But when you say that, I do feel like it's different internal versus external. Like
100%.
I feel the pure anger when people mess with my people in a way that I don't feel that towards myself.
Yes.
Like I don't
Yes.
feel pure anger when people are mean to me. I feel like upset or I feel like I did something wrong. Like I internalize it a lot more. If someone messes with or like is mean to someone that I love or care about, that is where I feel the pure anger. So, yeah, it's sort of interesting distinguishing between the like external and internal parts of anger. That's at
I
least
also
I feel like
feel-
in my experience.
I agree. And I think as the three of us, as really highly emotionally intelligent people, when anger is, or when something is done to us directly, it can be easy for our brains to understand and empathize or sympathize maybe with why they took actions the way
Yeah,
that they
the
did.
nuance. Yeah.
It's so easy to get wrapped up in that. And not that we have to sit in the anger, because I think then the anger can become only really damaging to yourself. Like, thinking, for a simple example, thinking about like a road rage incident, or let's say someone does something annoying on the road and then you're mad about it for 30 minutes, right? You're really only harming yourself there. So I think that it's tough. Like, you don't want to get stuck in it, and you don't, like Chloe, when she just like sends love to her haters. I would love that, right? But like, she probably wouldn't have that same reaction to someone who had a deep betrayal of her. And you know what I mean? Like, I think there's like a spectrum to that rage or that anger, and I don't think we should shun it, but I don't think we should be like, let it stay too long, you know?
Yeah. I
Tricky.
agree. Ryan used to make fun of me because I would do these like mini rages to him. If he would annoy me, I would like mini rage at him, but it would be like something really cute and small. Like I would pluck a hair from his head or something. And part of that is that I just feel like I'm still learning the skills to express anger. Like in the moment, it was easier for me to like fleck him than it was to like fully express like me being upset with him. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better at that, but I think now, reflecting on my mini rages, like they really were times that I was like, I want to inflict harm, but not like I don't actually want to hurt him, but I'm also not able to express how I'm feeling in this
Yeah.
moment. So instead, I'm going to do this like tiny, really annoying thing to him.
Yeah, the emotion had to do something. It had to move
Yeah,
somewhere.
I had to let it out somehow, and it was like me
one arm
pinching
hair.
him or something. Yeah.
But
It
I
was like
think
me tying his shoes together. Like
You're such a little.
you guys are 7, like, in the best way.
Yeah, like you guys are chipmunks.
Um, I think that that's one of the reasons that it's so hard to feel this, because if you invite it in, how are you going to let it out?
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier. Sadness, I can have a good cry, or I can do something that's an easier maybe emotion to roll through, versus anger is a really tough emotion to roll through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I do have a somatic exercise if anyone's interested in an anger somatic exercise. I've done it before. I like it okay. You basically you put your hands on a wall, and you just push as hard as you can into the wall.
Hmm.
And then you release, and then you push as hard as you can, and then you release. You don't hit it, obviously. You just place your hand on the wall and press. Just wanted to clarify.
Or you punch a mirror.
Yeah, lots of options in terms
Yeah.
of physical contact.
Yeah. So, but last night this ended in kind of, I had listened to that podcast Laura sent yesterday morning, and then she got home and there was a few mildly annoying things that happened, and then I was just like, Laura, I'm having a rage moment. Like, I'm having rage. She was like, okay. Like, okay. And then I let it happen, and I was pretty angry, and Laura was pretty angry. And then from that, I did get a good kind of discovery about myself, which I need to figure out how to kind of make this concise and comfortable enough for me to share. But basically, like, combined with that overlooked feeling that I was talking about last podcast, I hesitate to share this because I don't want anyone listening who knows me in my personal life to like think that it's about them. You know what I mean?
You're fine.
I worry about stuff like that, but there's an element to my life as a whole, big picture, where people have kind of just continuously taken from me without offering anything of significant value back to me. And everything in my life hasn't felt like it was freely given. Like, physical touch, not freely given, or these components of really important stuff feels like I had to earn them or they were taken from me. And I had this moment where, wait, what came first? Should I do the overlook or the being seen thing?
Sure.
Basically, I've had also, I have this kind of anger about being overlooked and forgotten and not considered. And then in this other bucket, I have this fear of being seen and perceived. And then physical touch comes in there as well. But with the fear of being seen, I realized that being seen represented an opportunity for people to continue taking from me. And I wasn't willing, it wasn't safe to do that. I didn't want to put myself in a position where more people could access me and more people could take from me. And again, these are like really big themes that need to be broken down properly in therapy and worked through and processed and all of that and integrated. But the realization of something like that, of I'm keeping myself small because of this historic reason, is kind of groundbreaking for my life.
And then what was the other half of it?
I don't remember right now.
Okay. I think that my biggest takeaway from our combo last night was like McKenna feels kind of like there is a legacy and a reputation of being very, very helpful and selfless and giving and all this stuff to all the people in McKenna's life. And so McKenna keeps kind of giving and giving and giving from an empty cup to the point where it's like she doesn't even want to, I don't know, like it's just you can't keep going. I mean, back to the like mom rage thing. Like there's an absolute physical limit on giving. And my whole thing that I completely agree with is like McKenna wants to help people and leave a beautiful impact on this earth, and that will the the best help and the most people will be helped by McKenna if she just literally, okay, how am I trying to say this?
If I can create strong boundaries first and give from a place of whole, like more wholeness rather than desperation and emptiness.
Right. But at this point, like the less you give, the more people you will help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, Mal, listen to this. In the class that I finished up, I think you'll relate to this, maybe. But the teacher said a phrase that I don't know if I said this in the pod. I hope not. But basically, the desire to heal fully as a perfectionist is a desire from perfectionism, and the desire to heal others is the same.
Yep.
Which I think just like blew my mind.
Yeah. This is so relevant because this semester is the first semester ever that I'm teaching a 3-credit class, and it's called Helping Skills. And we just are reading the chapter this week about how helpers create dependency is because they need the affirmation and validation that they're needed, and they have to like create that relationship that validates like their needs in a lot of ways. And so sometimes we think like healing others is about like our need to help, and I think it is like a lot of the time a really pure and good desire, but I think sometimes it's also about us and our need to like be the star student and, perfect helping others,
Yep. Juicy stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. Mal, do you have anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just want to talk about my Mallory's terrible, horrible, really bad night.
No good night.
Yeah, my no good, very bad night. Yeah, like really long story short, I also don't want to like throw this person under the bus because I don't think that's appropriate. But long-ish story short, I had a very bad Wednesday night. For a variety of factors. I would say one, the expectations of the event from the people running it and my expectations were different, and those should have been clarified earlier on, but they were not, and I was very unequipped to help their expectations thrive. So there was already that. Um, and then it was just like so overstimulating, like so overstimulating. I was doing a lot of the tech stuff, which is not my world. Like that is just so rough for me. So
I'm
there was just
kinda
like,
wait. Mal, I'm imagining like you know how like theater techies will like wear all black and like run on stage
And you have a headset.
and have a headset?
wait, that was literally me though. I was
That's
wearing
what I'm
all black.
imagining.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Screaming
mean,
on
I was
stage.
backstage with my computer. I had the PowerPoint, I had the film, I had the music. I was plugging, unplugging, replugging, Bluetooth. Okay, change screen. And I was gonna have a heart attack. Like, I think that was the closest I've ever been to this is the big one, you know? um, so anyway, I was just so overwhelmed. Things were just like flying. And a lot of people were asking things of me that I could not meet in that moment. And as the reliability part of me is like so strong, I felt like I was like time after time disappointing every person who was interacting with me that night, even though like I knew I wasn't, but that's what it felt like. Um, and so I had my first therapy session in a month and a half yesterday.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I was in Chile and then the beginning of the semester was really busy. And so I had a good debrief with my therapist about this. And I kind of realized how proud I am of how I managed that situation because I did a couple of different coping mechanisms. The first was once I had started the film, I literally went down to my office and did some deep breathing until the film was over because I like could not function. And then second, I texted my boss, Sherry, because I needed an emotional security blanket with me. And she just stayed with me the rest of the night because she's a sweet baby angel. But I mean, I think even asking for help was really hard for me. And I'm really proud of myself for like vocalizing that I needed her there with me. And I literally kept being like, "You're not going to leave, right? You're going to stay with me." And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And then finally, I recognized that there was like two parts to the event. And I realized that the second part I could make Dylan, my coworker, do so that I wouldn't be the one doing all the tech. And I think in a normal situation, I would have said, well, yeah, but I can do the tech. It's like I'm embarrassed to admit that I don't want to do that. And so I was really proud of myself for being like, Dylan, I'm going to use my power for one time here and say that you have to go do the tech. And ended up the second half of the night ended up being a lot better than the first, but I was very proud of myself for like being so overstimulated, but still trying to prioritize my needs that night. And I eventually went and got dinner. I put this on my story, so some people might have heard it, but I went to get dinner at this like Mediterranean fast like bowl place. And so I must have looked really disheveled because the man behind like the table was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just having like a really shitty night." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And anyway, he was like helping me with my bowl. And then I got to the checkout and this other guy was ringing me up. And the first guy was like, "No, it's on me. I'm gonna pay for her dinner. Like, don't worry." And I burst out sobbing
Aw.
at the checkout because I've been holding in so much emotion all night. Like I was just holding in everything, like I could feel it. And in that moment, it was like the kindness of this stranger to just pay for my bowl like was unreal. And I wasn't sure if he regretted it afterwards because I was just standing there sobbing for a minute. But I like literally walked outside and I called Ryan and I was like, "Ryan, like the best thing ever happened to me on this terrible night." So anyway, it was yeah, and then the next day I woke up and my nervous system was not functioning. Like I had used all energy in my nervous system, brain fog, like couldn't express emotion. Like I had nothing left in the nervous system tank. So anyway, that was my experience. I'm feeling much better this week, but you know, situations like that are going to happen in your life And I think I'm really proud of how I'm handling them. Even if it may not be perfect for other people, it was perfect for me.
Good job, Mal.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really proud of you for like, because imagine how much of a frazzled little bean you would be waking up the morning after not asking for help or not asking for Sherry to come down.
I don't
Like,
think I would have survived until then. I
The
just,
Mediterranean place would have not let you in, maybe.
no.
yeah. Yeah. I was unwell. I was
Yeah.
unwell.
I feel like all three of us have like the whole like I'm a really hard worker. Like anything you need done, I got
Yeah.
you. But I literally also like my body
At
is
any
so-
cost to us.
Ex-
Yeah.
At any cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
In
cost.
fact, I'll pay you
Yeah.
to do this.
Harm
I mean,
me.
that night is sort of what it felt like because I was paying this person to come, and then I was like, I feel like I'm doing the labor here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is my greatest strength and my greatest downfall is my work ethic. It's something that I like really love about myself. And then it's also something that I'm like, Mallory, can't you care a little bit less? Like, can't you just like chill out and not care as much?
Mhm.
I
That's
have
all
a
I
closing
have.
thought for us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, do you have more to share?
I did, but I lost it. So
Oh, well, if I'm done, when I'm done, you can, if it come back, let me know. But I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
Looking back on our podcast, when we started in 2020,
Oh my God.
think about the 2020 version of you. And it feels like we came to this space with the hope of, I mean, we were lost babies at that point.
Yes.
And still are to some extent.
No, very much to them.
And I feel like our trailhead into learning and loving ourselves was very much like physical things that we could grab onto, like our food and our movement practices and these things that are worthy to talk about and to break down. And as this podcast has grown, we've seen our relationships with those things grow and evolve, and then new things come in that are introduced to us. But my question is like through this growth, as we get to know ourselves more and more, and I think that the three of us know ourselves incredibly well. I think incredibly well just in general, but also incredibly well for women our age. I think not that like anything is a competition ever, but we've done significant work around that, and I think that should be celebrated. But I feel like for me, the more I get to know myself, the more things that are out of alignment with me are so much more obvious, or things like that. Like think about that night that you had, Mal, in 2020, 2019. I think that you could have gotten through that night and just been like, another day, another dollar, right? Like, and moved on. But I think it's so powerful that you recognized how hard that was for you because you know yourself more. And I don't know. My question basically is, do you think that the more you guys have known yourself, the more you've realized, wow, these things that people do every day in our world that are deemed as normal, like, do you feel like sometimes it's just kind of ridiculous that we do them? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was going to say, and I don't mean this word in a bad way, but I do feel like I've gotten more sensitive. And I think part of that is knowing myself and knowing what will hurt me. But also, I think my social anxiety has gone through the roof, and I'm much more aware of how social environments impact me than I was in 2020. So yeah, I mean, that didn't really answer your question, but yeah, I
No, I
think
think
that's a
it
really
did.
interesting thought.
yeah. When you were starting this whole question, I was thinking back to like early 2020 Laura or like even 2019 Laura. It is unfathomable even to consider that y'all would want to be friends with me. Like
That's how I feel about myself, not about you.
Yeah, like how could we ever be friends with Laura?
no, legitimately. I'm like I was maybe a fun time for sure.
No, I knew from the moment I met you
That I would what?
that we were gonna be friends.
No, I know that we were gonna be friends, but like when I think about the depth that I had back then, like emotionally, like I'm saying like I was a fun person to hang out with and like, joke with, but literally like I was so separated from myself in that time because I had to be kind of with the life that I had, but also just because I was too scared probably and just not ready to like know more about myself. But it's funny, like I, I think if I had continued on with that level of self-awareness, you know, I would I would think that the Lara that turned down an engineering job over the phone was a dumb bitch. Like I would think that that was so stupid at this point in my life, or I I don't know, like I think that I feel much more sensitive in many ways, but I also feel so much more confident making silly no,
Mhm.
not silly. I think making way more aligned choices for my life.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
I think the concept of self-awareness is so interesting to me because I feel like we've all become more self-aware, and the pros of self-awareness are like, you know, like being more aware of the environment around you, what your needs are. But I think also being aware of what your needs are heightens you to the environmental triggers that impact things that like make you have big reactions, which is good. But then, yeah, I think to your point, McKenna, like 2020 Mallory would have like not even stopped to think about that. So yeah, I like how it is now, but I can see how maybe I was easier to be around in some ways in 2020. Not like a personality type, but in that I didn't react as much
Mhm.
to situations that were triggering to me.
Or question things.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of alarming to me the amount of, I guess, just how the world feels like it operates at this. Sorry.
What?
This world operates at this really fast-paced level where it's like, yeah, we're just going to go from staring at a computer screen into like this really stressful exercise class with music blaring, which sometimes is fun and sometimes is not. And then we're going to go into, like a happy hour that's super busy, which like these are all can be fun things.
Sounds like my
But I think
worst.
I think sometimes it's like we don't even stop to think like I went from screen to this to this to this, and have I even had a second to sit with myself?
Yeah.
And the more that we like do that and sit with selves, it's so clear when it's like you can pick out in a crowd the person that is never ever pausing. Like
Yeah.
you can spot them in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, look at what's gonna happen. I wanted to do this earlier.
Laura, don't freak out though, because if you have a big reaction, McKenna might not do it again.
We're on camera.
Yeah, maybe the kiss isn't in the cards. McKenna just hugged Lara for people listening.
It was a really good side
I'm gonna
hug.
blush.
All right, I think
Yeah.
it's time for dinner.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm proud of us and I love you guys.
Yeah.
I love you guys. If nothing else, this pod allows us to see our growth.
And I want to be honest, you could not pay me to listen to some of those
No,
old
I literally
episodes.
will never listen to year 1 or maybe
hope they
even year
burn.
2.
I actually know. I think this would be a fun exercise if we picked a random oldie and listened and then came back with our thoughts.
Yeah. I think that maybe we should, but I may need to take some time.
Let's think about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll ruminate on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for
Okay.
listening, everyone.
Love you.
Bye.
Ta-ta.